Welcome to the Power of Great. I'm your host, Matt Crane, and every single week we come to you right here on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora with one mission in mind, and that's to help you recognize that your current situation is not your defining moment. This week I have the honor and the privilege, and if you've ever seen the movie The Beautiful Mind, then you're about to get inside the beautiful mind of the compensation plan master, Mr. Joshua Phair. You know, he's known as the compensation plan master in the network marketing space, and he's recognized as the most intelligent man you'll never know in the MLM world. But we're going to change that because he's changed that by becoming known for having saved well over $100 million in losses for his clients. With this most recent client alone, he helped them avoid a 9-figure year total meltdown. He's also helped launch 9 network marketing companies from scratch, helped rebrand and relaunch 4 companies. He's coached top earners in the industry, helping some make as much as $27,000 in their first 24 hours in the industry. Joshua Phair, welcome to the Power of Great, my man.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be here, brother.
Yes, you know, it's a huge honor, and I tell you, when I read your bio, what really jumps out to me is the most intelligent man you'll never know. However, you're the first person everyone in that industry is calling when they can't figure out something, especially in that compensation plan. So what is it that led you to finding out that the compensation plan was something that not only did you understand, but that you understood at a level that most people couldn't even comprehend?
You know, that's such a good question, Matt, because honestly, it was by accident. So I go into a company, you know, I get invited to take a look at a lot of different opportunities, and I go into a company, they put me into a room with a whiteboard and their compensation plan. They said, we're going to be back in about 10 minutes. And, you know, I don't know if it was a happenstance or if it was their mistake, but they came back 45 minutes to an hour later, and their whiteboard looked like Egyptian hieroglyphics. And immediately the owner of the company looks at me and says, okay, Rain Man, Beautiful Mind, Russell Crowe, what do we got here? And I started chuckling, and I looked at him, and I said, well, I broke your compensation plan. And he says, well, that's impossible. And I said, no, I broke your compensation plan. You guys didn't take into account merchant account fees, merchant account holds. You didn't take into account licensing fees. So right now, you guys are paying $53 for every 50 you bring in, and you're going to be out of business within 6 months. And what I was able to do is I was able to see how their business model was interconnected with other pieces that they weren't seeing at the time.
You know, it's so strange that when you said I broke your compensation plan, and I think that's such an intriguing way that you answered that question, because, you know, most companies pride themselves on their compensation plan really being that standout selling factor on why you want to join a business and why you want to join a company. And so why is it important for you when you get the phone call to really go in and basically try to break that model? You know, why is that such an important factor for you, or is it something that just happens?
Well, no, it's not something that just happens. There's a lot of different aspects of compensation that companies and owners and large level distributors just aren't aware of. And even a lot of the current designers out there, compensation plan designers, they tend to try to model their next project after their previous project. And the big problem in the industry is comparing apples to oranges, or not even apples to oranges, apples to perfume. And so people get in this mindset of, well, everybody else has a certain volume to dollar ratio, so we've got to keep in that niche. Well, if your cost of goods are significantly higher, or if you're getting charged an arm and a leg for shipping, or, you know, there's so many different infinite number of factors that if you do your math wrong on that, you're already over before you even begun. So when I go into a new company and a new company comes to me and says, well, our binary is paying out X% and that's way too high, I always come back to the original math. Okay, so how did you come to your volume? How did you come to these calculations? What did you factor into this? And every single time without fail, I'm able to find little things that people missed when they were originally designing the plans.
You know, the network marketing industry has been around for quite some time, and it's probably never been more popular than it has with the conception of the digital age, the computer age. You know, was this an industry that you've been involved in for quite some time and fell into? You know, I know you mentioned that it was kind of by accident, but or did you just happen to have a love for numbers and it fit into this network marketing compensation model where you knew that hey, I'm the guy you need to call when you can't figure it out on your own?
Man, that's a really great question, because honestly, I hate math. I just happen to be exceptionally good at it. No, honestly, I've been in the industry since 1999, so I'm coming up on 17 years in the industry. But I took a step back from the industry in about 2007. I took a step back because I saw some things that were happening on the compensation plan side that were a little worrisome to me. There were new bonuses being invented and new different things that were being created. And I took a hard look at them, and I saw how some of those ever increasing percentage of them, in fact, were designed to pay an ever decreasing portion of the distributorship. And so I got a little worried. And so originally when I decided to go into consulting, I wanted to go into consulting to kind of be the defender of the new guy in the business, because I believe that a lot of the money that was being, reappropriated from those bonuses to get these new bonuses was being taken from the upfront money from the new guy getting started. And so I came in as the defender of the little guy, but at the same time, and I tell this to every single one of my clients, look, my job is to defend the little guy, put bonuses in that will emphasize behavior, that will emphasize momentum, growth, and all of these different factors that will highly incentivize your leadership, but without breaking the bank. Making sure that all of your costs, all of your running costs for the business, all of your profit margins, all of that is protected in advance. So even in the event of an overpayment one month, you're still protected on all your costs, and you're not looking to change your compensation plan because of it. So a lot of it, when I first started, yes, I've been in the industry for a very long time, but I really started focusing on compensation plans in 2008, 2009 is when I really started getting into that side of the industry.
You know, being in the industry over 17 years, obviously there's been a lot of things that have changed. There's been a lot of different ways companies have kind of reinvented themselves to stay relevant. What would you say when you go in and you evaluate compensation plans, knowing that that's really the bread and butter of every MLM? What would you say are some constants that you tell companies do not play with this model? Or where do you feel that there are some areas that you tell companies you need to expand on this, or you need to cut that in order to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, yeah, especially with things coming. There's obviously been some recent litigation in the industry. They came down hard on Vima. They came down hard on Herbalife. And there's been a couple others. There have also been some other companies that have had some major issues with breaches, security breaches, and data, which is why I'm partnering up with a firm called Protocol PCI out of Orem, Utah, to start helping security protections and things like that. But here's the basics. So when I come into a company, first things first, I make sure that their numbers are on. If their numbers aren't on, we got to change it. We got to redo their numbers. We got to figure it out so that they're not overpaying or they're not at risk. Okay. Once they're not at risk any longer, I come in and I analyze certain bonuses and what the bonuses were designed to emphasize. If the bonus was not designed to emphasize a behavior that creates growth or momentum, it's not a valid bonus. So they need to do away with it. And honestly, where the industry started shifting and changing, and I've seen this happen so often, is I'll go into a company and they'll say, well, we've got 13 ways to get paid. Okay, well, you've only got 5 behaviors that you're trying to emphasize. So why are you paying 13 different ways? And if you go through and you look at it, 4 of those bonuses are emphasizing one behavior, and the only behavior that it's emphasizing is getting a rank. So why are we emphasizing one thing 4 different times with 4 different types of bonuses? And so we go in and change those things. Now, up front, on the legal side, some of the things that companies need to start looking at and addressing is customer acquisition versus recruiting. They're coming down very, very hard on it. They want to make sure that your bonuses for recruiting are not higher than your bonuses for selling to an end user. And so, for example, when I design a compensation plan, obviously you've got the products that people order when they first get started with a company, and there's what we call fast start or quick start bonuses on those products. you need to make sure that the retail equivalent of that is more or at least equal. A lot of companies will give a 20% payout for retail, but they'll pay out 35% for recruiting purchases. And so that's the first no-no that I tell all of my clients. You got to stop that. You've got to make customer sales more lucrative and more incentivized than recruiting sales. Okay, that's first and foremost, because you have to at least give the image that you're shooting for end user sales. Otherwise, the FTC is going to go, well, would somebody actually buy your product if it weren't attached to the opportunity? And that's key number one. Key number two, which goes hand in hand with that, is some of the fast start bonuses. So there's a lot of companies out there, and it used to be kind of the mainstay to have $1,500 packages to get into a company. And a lot of these $1,500 packages, they were very much stacked with a lot of product. And hey, this is product for you to sell and product for you to move. But the reality is it was a year's worth of supply of products. And so a lot of that ended up in garages. A lot of that ended up in, different things. And it was an unnecessary purchase, legitimately, because really I need to shelf products in my house. That's why I have a customer hub where people can purchase through my website. Right? I don't need to have stuff in hand to be, pitching and selling from my living room. In the online age, that's ridiculous. So a lot of these bigger packs are obsolete. And so companies need to be aware of that. The other thing connected to that same facet of the business, which is very important for legal terms, is a lot of companies were grandfathering ranks and grandfathering earning capabilities to the purchase of the larger packages, which they have ixnayed. They've said absolutely not. You cannot entice somebody to purchase more product by saying that they will earn more than somebody who didn't. And so these are three of the major upfronts that I'm letting all of my clients know upfront. Hey, look, if you do these three things, FTC is probably not going to like you over the next couple of years, especially with all of the new things that are happening in the industry.
And I love the very transparent approach that you take with your clients. And I can hear that you're passionate about the industry, and it's that passion that also breeds the fact that you want to make sure that everybody you consult with knows that, you're a product of the industry and that you have a lot of respect for the industry, and that if you really want to recruit, retain, or create a true legacy company, as a lot of these network marketing companies want to have, you got to do things right from the very beginning. So, what would you say has been one of your toughest moments in the consulting world, where you've gone in and knowing you're the beautiful mind, once you write the hieroglyphics down on the whiteboard, after it's done, do you have those moments where you're scratching your head like, okay, this is going to be interesting?
Yeah, and this is really hard because I don't like talking bad about people, right? At all. It's not my intention. So, but the reality is there are owners of companies that don't realize that they don't know something. And so a lot of times when they see, I just turned 39 years old. When I started doing compensation plans, I was in my mid-20s. Or early 30s, right? Late 20s, early 30s. And so a lot of these gentlemen, 50, 60 years old, 45 to 60s, looking at a 30-year-old saying, well, what does this guy know? And the reality is that, I have a vast amount of experience of putting together business systems, compensation plans, modeling, and different things like that. Matter of fact, I'm the only compensation plan designer that can take a company's real-time data and live model the changes they want to make and tell them to a penny what the difference would make if they make a change. So they don't know that when they first get involved with me. And a lot of times it takes me saving them hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars before they finally get rid of the narcissism, so to speak, and say, okay, I'm going to finally listen to you because it seems like you know what you're talking about. And so that's been the toughest thing. And I'll tell you, it's the weirdest thing, honestly. Raising my rates overcame a lot of that. It was when I had a mentor that said, Josh, you're not charging enough. And this was about 4 years ago. And so I actually quadrupled the amount of money that I was charging my clients. And amazingly, all of a sudden, they started listening from the get-go. When they had to pay me a per diem to fly me in and then had to pay me to get a proposal out to them, so they were paying me to tell them how much it was going to cost to work with them. then all of a sudden they respected that because there was more skin in the game, so to speak. So that was my biggest thing. It's been getting with people that have been doing it for the long way. And honestly, there are some problems in the industry with this. There is a meeting that occurs once a month, and a lot of the big leaders are talking with the FTC, and the FTC is coming out with new rules and new regulations. And the big owners are saying, hey, you know what? When you've actually got something that's going to shut us down, then come talk to us, because we've been running our businesses this way for 20 years, and we're not afraid of you. And so that's my biggest hurdle, so to speak, that I had to overcome in this industry, was owners that just literally didn't care because they were making enough money that they just didn't care.
You know, it sounds like to me that it's one thing to have you consult, but it's also another thing for a company to know that you're really a security blanket for them when it comes to the FTC. You're able to head off problems that maybe they don't see. You're also probably able to build more comfort with the FTC, knowing that they have a guy in place like you that's really monitoring these things, that's helping them translate this foreign language, as you call it. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, when the VEMA lawsuits came down, and when they were even starting, when the rumors were going that the feds were going after VEMA, I had 5 clients call me within 24 hours. And they said, Josh, do we have something to be worried about this, this, and this? And I said, no, brother. I saw this coming down the road 3 years ago. And when I designed your compensation plan, I designed it to address those things long before this ever happened. So I'm forward thinking. I'm on top of the ball. I'm always looking forward to what the FTC wants and what the Consumer Protection Agency, everything that's going after protecting clients. I'm always looking at those things. I read everything that comes off the desk from the top MLM law firms in the industry to make sure that I understand what's going on in the industry. And I'm always looking at the different plans and seeing what can be broken, what can't be broken, what can be gamed, what can't be gamed, what's considered a Ponzi versus just an opportunity, where products are involved. Is the product an actual valid product? Would somebody purchase it if it didn't have an opportunity to attach? So I'm always looking at those different things and analyzing them. So before I go in with a client, I tell them, look, my number one thing is to make sure that your distributors are paid and that they're emphasized for behavior that creates growth. That's number one. Number two is to make sure that your company has a long-term viable option. In other words, you're not going to shut down within 5 years after people are finally gaining momentum, they're finally gaining growth, they're finally starting to live the lifestyles of their dreams, and then all of a sudden they're looking to sell all of their furniture and all of the cars because you went belly up. And so that's number two. Number one, first, distributors. I want to make sure that they're paid well, and that certain behaviors are emphasized. Other than that, I want to make sure that the company is there for 10, 20, 30 years and ongoing, so that people have a viable opportunity. And that's something that is very important to me, because I've seen too many companies go belly up over the last little bit over really stupid, petty details that were overlooked or ignored. They had been counseled and they rejected it. And so it's these little things that we need to put in place, and we need to, but yes, you're absolutely right. And that's also why I'm partnering with Protocol, because they have security on the back end now. There have been 3 or 4 major companies in the industry now that have had security data breaches where key information has been breached, and now they're going to be prosecuted. So we need to make sure that we're very proactive on that side. But when I bring a solution to a company, it's the forward-lookingness of the legalities, it's the compensation model, it's ensuring that the finances are going to produce a viable model, it's ensuring that they have the correct back office software, the correct payment softwares, logistics and shipping, fulfillment houses, design firms, web firms, everything that they could possibly need. I've got connections in every side of the industry to make sure that if a company had nothing except for an idea, that they would be able to launch a product as long as they were able to get funding. And even in that industry, that side of the industry, I still have connections to where people are funding newer startups and different things like that. So yeah, I make sure that when people engage with me, they know, look, you're not just getting somebody that's going to write a 30-page document on your comp plan, right? You're not getting somebody that's just going to design how people get paid. I'm going to make sure that you have the tools necessary to create a viable long-term exponential growth potential opportunity for you and for every single one of your distributors for the long haul.
I love that. So if you're out there right now listening to us, you're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, or Pandora, and we're with the Compensation Plan Master. And you know what? I'm going to redefine it right here on The Power of Great. This is really the beautiful mind of the compensation plan for the multi-level marketing industry, Mr. Joshua Phair, and he is laying down the goods right here on The Power of Great. Joshua, it sounds like to me that whether you've been a company in existence for quite some time, or you're kind of hitting that momentum stage, or you're even coming out of the gate, it sounds like that you're definitely someone that they need to be calling right away, if anything, just to stay ahead of all the new rules and all the new regulations and all the new language that's coming down the pipe. So how does someone find Joshua Phair, and how do they go about finding out how you would make a good fit to consult with their business?
They can always check out my website, themasterchoice.com. They can connect with me on Facebook, Joshua Phair, or joshua.s.phair. They can hit me up on LinkedIn, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, anything reality. Best places to get a hold of me are on either Facebook or themasterchoice.com. I've also got Joshua at themasterchoice.com for email, so they can hit me up there. But yeah, I'm available. I answer. I'm a real person. The one thing that I never, ever, ever outsource is the new clients coming in that have concerns and questions. So if you're a new client out there, or if you're a medium-sized company, a large-sized company, look, folks, I've handled everything from startups to a company that just called me because they had 5 of their distributors arrested in a country because they were operating an illegal type of plan for that country. And it was literally a 9-figure a year company that would have gone down in flames if we hadn't stepped in. So I handle business on every level, every scale. And then on any of those web pages as well, you can chat me up. I give out my phone number very readily to those who need help, and we can communicate, have a sit down.
Now, just to clarify, you work with a lot of companies and a lot of corporations, so I'm assuming there's a lot of NDAs that are signed. There's a lot of disclosure agreements that you have to go through. But I also noticed that you've worked with some of the top earners. So do you also consult on an individual basis, or are you more looking at the team and the overall ownership of the MLM industry?
Yes, absolutely. I do take mid to high level leaders as clients for coaching one-on-one. We take a look at your group, your culture, what you're trying to develop, and then we help implement simple duplicatable systems for the brand new person to the medium person to the most successful person, to help you create growth and momentum within your groups and ultimately increase the size of your check. I've done that with some of the top earners in the industry. So that's something that I do, as well as very shortly here within the next 30 to 60 days, I'm going to be creating a mastermind 90-day blitz course for individuals in the network marketing industry that can come on, be a part of the 90-day blitz, find out the key components of their compensation plan and the top 3 or 4 strategies that will take them from zero to growth within 90 days to help them start moving in their business. So that's coming down the pipeline about 60 to 90 days from now. But in the meantime, yes, I do work both on the consultative side with companies as well as medium to large size leaders. I help them reorganize this and systematize what they're teaching their group so that they can create growth and momentum.
Awesome. Before we wrap up the show, you're a student of the game. You study the business. You're always looking ahead. You're always watching trends. What are some of the trends you're seeing coming down the pipe for the multi-level marketing industry, and where do you see the industry going in the next 2 to 5 years?
It's going up. It's going up. It's going up. As long as people will focus on customer acquisition. You got to focus on customer acquisition. And a lot of the newer and more effective ways of doing business in the network marketing space is taking a look at acquiring a customer, giving them time to get a tangible experience with your product, and then doing drip campaigns. It's nothing different than internet marketing. You capture a lead, you engage with the lead, and then you sell to the lead, right? You capture a new customer, you get them to have a tangible experience with your product. to where they love your product, they like your product, they're going to keep on your product. And then eventually over time, you tell them, oh, by the way, there's a chance you can get your product for free. Or, hey, if you do these 3 steps, you could get $100. And there's little steps that can get them enticed along the way until they get to a point where they're ready to build business. But so often today, somebody will get in front of somebody at a bar or a restaurant, and they'll say, hey, you know what? I noticed you have some wrinkles on your skin. And instead of saying, hey, here's this awesome cream that will help you look 5 years younger, they say, why don't you go in business with me? You're going to make $15,000 a month, and we'll do it through this skin cream, which, by the way, will also help your wrinkles. And instead of focusing on the direct problem, they're focusing on what they want, which is money in their pockets now, and then let's create a relationship later. And so that's one thing that I think, as long as people will do business the right way, which, is why next week I'm here in Las Vegas now as a family trip, and then I'm here in Las Vegas next week for the GoPro thing with Eric Worre, and then I'm off to another convention for the industry because we've got to learn to do it the right way, the better way. Okay, and so that's part of my process. So as long as we will do that, this industry is already billions of dollars. There is no reason why this industry could not be $1 trillion industry if everybody would start doing things the right way. And that's what I see for our industry.
I love that. And I love your take on it. You're exactly right. The lifeblood of every business is what? It's pipeline of customers, not its pipeline of business partners. And I love how you broke that down. And for all the folks that are in the MLM world, we have a huge listening audience that are multi-level marketers or have dabbled in the space at some point. If you are even remotely interested in either scaling your business or jumping back into the industry, take heed to what my man Joshua just said. Focus on acquiring customers and taking care of them. They will lead you to the promised land, I will assure you. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Every week, I am so honored to be your host right here on The Power of Great. And I'll leave you with this. Success is never measured by what you step out of, rather by what you are truly committed to step into. And I look forward to being with you all next week.